Was this really just a simple mistake? Or is there something much darker hiding behind those high-vis jackets on the cobbles? We've been watching the shadows in Weatherfield for weeks now, but the truth about what happened to Theo Silverton is finally about to hit like a scaffold pole to the skull. Honestly, I think the fallout from this reveal might be even more brutal than the murder itself. The long-running whodunit is reaching its boiling point, and as Killer Reveal Week arrives, we have to ask ourselves a very serious question. Are we looking for a villain, or are we actually looking for a hero who just went way too far? Next week, Coronation Street is serving up a dinner party that people are going to be talking about for years. It's not going to be famous for the food, believe me. It's going to be famous for the blood on the table. Kit Green, a guy who seems to enjoy playing God with people's lives as much as he enjoys a good investigation, is gathering all the primary suspects under one roof. We're talking about Gary, Sarah, Maria, Todd, and Summer all sitting around the same table. It's a group with so much shared trauma and buried secrets that I'm honestly surprised the floorboards don't just give way before the first course is even served. Now, why would a detective choose a social gathering to break a murder case? Well, think about it. It's a totally calculated move. Kit isn't just looking for physical evidence anymore. He's looking for a psychological snap. He knows that when you trap people in a room with their enemies and their biggest lies, the facade eventually has to crumble. It's about testing reactions and pushing people into a corner until the truth is the only way out. In my view, this isn't just a police tactic, it's a theatrical execution of justice. The dinner party is like a tiny version of the street itself, a place where everyone knows your business but nobody actually knows your truth. To me, the table isn't being set for a meal. It's being set for an exorcism of all the lies that have poisoned these families since April, I have to say. I think Kit is being dangerously manipulative here. While he says he's searching for answers, he's also intentionally blowing up relationships. He's taking Sarah's attempt at a civil evening and weaponizing it against her. It's brilliant television, sure, but psychologically, Kit is showing a level of control that's almost as chilling as the murder he's trying to solve. Does he actually care about justice, or does he just want to win the game? If we look at the evidence, Gary Windass is basically holding the smoking gun. We've seen the flashbacks now. We've seen him standing over Theo's body. And we've seen him doing what Gary does better than anyone, cleaning up a mess. He was seen wiping blood from a scaffold pole. The funny thing is, Gary has always had this savior complex that's almost pathological. Ever since his days in the army and that accidental killing of Rick Nalon, Gary has defined himself by his ability to handle the problems that the police can't touch. He sees himself as the unofficial sheriff of Weatherfield, the guy who does the dirty work so the people he loves can sleep at night. I bet internally, Gary is absolutely terrified right now. This isn't just about going to prison for him. It's about the fear of losing that good man image he's worked so hard to build with Maria. He tells Todd that Kit is trying to frame him, but is that the truth? Or is it just a desperate man's last-ditch effort to keep his world from imploding? He feels the weight of his past constantly pressing down on him, and I think Theo might have just been the tipping point where his instinct to protect finally crossed the line into an instinct to kill. Why was he even at the scene? Some theories say he killed Theo because Theo was a monster who deserved Corey's own brand of justice. Others suggest he just arrived after the fact and is doing his usual routine of covering up for someone else. Personally, I disagree with the idea that Gary is the obvious killer. Soap writers love a good red herring, showing us Gary with the mallet, and the blood feels like they're leading us to water, but telling us not to drink. It just feels too simple for a character with a history as complex as Gary's. What do you think? Is he too easy of a target? Then we have Sarah Platt. She's acting like a woman who is carrying the entire weight of the world on her shoulders. And let's be honest, Sarah has had enough trauma to last 10 lifetimes. She's united with Gary, protecting him, whispering in corners, and immediately jumping to his defense the second Kit starts circling. I think Sarah is feeling a deep sense of debt to Gary. He's protected her so many times before, and she probably feels that this time, it's her turn to shield him. But is there a hidden layer of guilt there? Was she the one Theo was attacking when someone else stepped in? Psychologically, Sarah's behavior is classic trauma bonding. She and Gary share secrets that would alienate them from everyone else on the street. This us against the world mentality is what keeps them together, even when it's destroying their other relationships, like Sarah's bond with Todd or Gary's marriage to Maria. I'd reframe Sarah not as a co-conspirator, but as a victim of her own loyalty. She isn't necessarily hiding a murder because she's evil. She's hiding it because she doesn't believe the system will ever give them a fair shake. Can you really blame her for that after everything she's seen? We can't talk about Theo without talking about the person who suffered the most at his hands, Todd Grimshaw. Theo was a monster, a narcissist who used domestic abuse to strip Todd of his dignity and his strength. When James Cartwright, who played Theo, describes the character as a homosexual homophobe who loves men but hates men, you start to see the twisted mental landscape Todd was forced to navigate every single day. Todd has the strongest motive of anyone in this case. Years of abuse, control, and emotional devastation can make even the gentlest soul finally snap. Did Todd finally take his power back with a scaffold pole? Soap history tells us that the person with the clearest reason for revenge is usually the prime suspect, but would it be too tragic for Todd's journey to end with him becoming a killer? I think Todd is smashed to bits right now. Even with Theo gone, the monster beneath the high-vis still haunts him. If he did kill Theo, I don't think it was an act of malice. I think it was an act of survival. He's probably feeling a mixture of total relief and absolute horror at what his life has become. This whole thing is really about the cycle of abuse. Theo was a broken man himself, likely shaped by his own experiences with conversion therapy. He projected all that self-hatred onto Todd, and if Todd killed him, he was essentially trying to kill the personification of his own trauma. My opinion? I believe Todd is innocent of the murder, but guilty of the desire. Seeing him heal and find love again would be a much more powerful message than making him a murderer. But in the world of soap justice, sometimes an eye for an eye is the only currency that matters. Now, let's get into the theories that are actually making waves online. There's a growing suspicion that the killer isn't even on the official adult suspect list. Some fans are convinced that Liam Connor, Maria's son, is the one who actually dealt the final blow. Why would Liam do it? Well, we know he's been through his own hell with bullying, and Gary has been his primary protector. If Liam saw Theo attacking Gary or Maria, or if he just wanted to end the chaos Theo was bringing into their lives, he might have acted impulsively. For Gary, covering up for a child would be the ultimate expression of his character. He would go to prison for life to protect Liam's future. It explains the deleted CCTV, the lies to the police, and the absolute desperation in his eyes. It wouldn't be about Gary's ego anymore. It would be about his legacy as a father figure. This theory reframes the entire mystery from a whodunit to a how far will a father go story. It's no longer about a murder. It's about a sacrifice. This would be a massive twist, but is it too dark for Corey? We've seen the show tackle heavy themes before, and making Liam the killer would certainly ensure the ripples go out and out, affecting everyone for years to come. I think it's a brilliant, if devastating, possibility. Would you be shocked if it was Liam? We also have to look at the man holding the dinner party itself, Kit Green. He's Bernie's son, Paul and Gemma's brother, and he's a detective with a massive chip on his shoulder. There's no direct evidence linking Kit to the murder, but his behavior is just off. He's pushing buttons, manipulating scenes, and seems almost too desperate to pin this on Gary. Could it be that Kit is the one with blood on his hands, and he's using his power to frame the most likely suspect? Kit is a man who has spent his life feeling like an outsider to his own family. He has a desperate need for control and a need to prove he's the smartest person in the room. Hosting a dinner party to reveal a killer that he might have actually created, or been, would be the ultimate power trip. It's about ego, trauma, and the desire to be the one who decides who is guilty and who is innocent. Personally, I think Kit is a fantastic addition to the show because he's so hard to read. Is he a bent copper, or is he just a man who's seen too much and has lost his moral compass? If he's the killer, some fans might call it a cop-out, but if he's just a master manipulator, he's a villain for the ages. The fan forums are on fire right now with theories, and there's a lot of fear that the reveal is going to be a letdown. The Danielle Silverton theory, that Theo's ex-wife did it, is being called the biggest cop-out of an already drawn-out mystery. Why do fans feel this way? Because we invest years into these characters. If a heavyweight like Gary or Sarah is involved, it really matters to the history of the show. But if an outsider like Danielle, who has barely been in 20 episodes, is the killer, it feels like the writers took the easy way out to avoid losing a main cast member. Fans feel cheated when the emotional stakes don't match the build-up. We've watched Todd suffer. We want the resolution to mean something for his future, not just be a convenient plot point for a guest star. The whodunit isn't just about the identity of the killer, it's a contract between the show and the audience. We give them our attention, and they're supposed to give us a payoff that resonates. I have to agree with the fans here. If it's Danielle or some random character we've barely met, the entire arc will feel like wasted motion. We need it to be someone we actually care about, for better or worse. As the plates are cleared at this dinner party next week, the civil facade is going to vanish. Maria, driven by her own insecurities and the very real suspicion that Gary and Sarah are having an affair, is going to explode. This is the exact catalyst Kit has been waiting for. When the emotional dam breaks, the truth usually follows. Maria's jealousy is the wild card in Kit's deck. She's not wrong that they're hiding something, but she's totally wrong about what it is. Her outburst forces Gary and Sarah to either tell the truth about the murder or lose their families forever. It's a brilliant bit of writing that pits different kinds of love against each other. Romantic love versus the protective love of a secret keeper. Maria is acting out of a deep-seated fear of abandonment. She's lost so many people in her life that she's always looking for the next betrayal. Any secret between Gary and Sarah feels like a knife in her marriage, even if that secret is actually a crime. We know we're getting flashbacks, and I predict we'll see that the murder wasn't as clean as a single strike. We might see a confrontation where multiple people were present. Maybe Summer left the flat, Sarah arrived, Theo attacked her, and then Gary or someone else intervened. That mallet Gary was holding? Maybe he didn't bring it to kill. Maybe he just picked it up in self-defense. James Cartwright made a really fascinating point in his interview. He said Theo met Corey's own brand of justice. He argued that a court case would have just been a device that forced everyone to relive the trauma without any real guarantee of a guilty verdict. Soap operas operate on a moral plane that's different from the real world. We want our baddies to meet their end, and our underdogs to triumph. Theo was a monster who killed a vicar, Billy Mayhew, and abused his partner. In the eyes of the viewers, he simply ran out of road. There's a huge sense of relief when a character like Theo is gone, but it's always tempered by the cost. The death is going to affect everybody in a different way, like a big bowling ball in a pond. It's not just about one dead body. It's about the soul of the entire street. We, as viewers, have a psychological need for closure. Theo represented a kind of evil that feels very real, the narcissist who hides behind a professional mask. Seeing him found dead is the ultimate catharsis for a storyline that was often very hard to watch. But what happens after the mask comes off? If the killer is someone Todd loves, like Sarah or Gary, he'll be forced to choose between his loyalty and his conscience. I predict a long, painful road to recovery for Todd, where he has to figure out what love even looks like without Theo's shadow hanging over him. And whether Gary did it or is just covering it up, his marriage to Maria is likely over. You just can't build a life on a foundation of a blood-stained scaffold pole. If Kit solves this, he becomes a hero, but if he's revealed to be dirty, he becomes the new big villain. I think Kit is going to be the one we're all talking about for the rest of the year. And if it actually is Liam, Gary will eventually have to take the fall. We might see Gary Windass exit the show in a way that cements him as a tragic hero, sacrificing his freedom to save his son's future. The unmasking of Theo's killer isn't the end of the story. It's just the start of a whole new chapter of drama for Weatherfield. We're moving from a whodunit to a what now? I really hope the writers give us something that feels earned. This storyline has been dragging on for some fans, and they need a payoff that hits hard. Coronation Street is at its best when it blends high-stakes drama with the small details of everyday life, and this reveal needs to bridge that gap perfectly. S.O. I want to hear from you now. We've looked at the psychology, the suspects, and all the secrets. Do you think Gary Windass is truly capable of a cold-blooded murder, or is his sheriff of Weatherfield act just a cover for his own massive guilt? And if the killer turns out to be an outsider like Danielle, are you going to feel cheated, or is that just how crimes are actually solved? Drop your theories in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the cobbles, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button so you never miss an update on the latest Coronation Street mysteries. We'll be right here with you when the truth finally comes out next week. The investigation into Theo Silverton's death is a masterclass in how soaps use mystery to explore deep character trauma. Gary Windass represents the moral gray area of the street, a man who believes he is doing right by doing wrong. Sarah Platt is the collateral damage of that choice, her life tied to a secret she might not have even wanted. Todd Grimshaw is the emotional anchor, the victim who needs justice, but might find only more pain. And Kit Green? He's the catalyst, the man who knows that in Weatherfield, the truth isn't found in a lab, it's found around a dinner table when the shouting starts. Theo was a man who ran out of road because his narcissism left him with zero allies and a street full of enemies. Whether his death was an accident, an act of self-defense, or a premeditated strike, it was the only possible conclusion for a character who lived by breaking other people. The real mystery isn't who killed him, but whether the people he left behind can ever truly be free of his shadow. As the plates are cleared at this dinner party next week, the civil facade is going to vanish. Maria, driven by her own insecurities and the very real suspicion that Gary and Sarah are having an affair, is going to explode. This is the exact catalyst Kit has been waiting for. When the emotional dam breaks, the truth usually follows. Maria's jealousy is the wild card in Kit's deck. She's not wrong that they're hiding something, but she's totally wrong about what it is. Her outburst forces Gary and Sarah to either tell the truth about the murder or lose their families forever. It's a brilliant bit of writing that pits different kinds of love against each other. Romantic love versus the protective love of a secret keeper. Maria is acting out of a deep-seated fear of abandonment. She's lost so many people in her life that she's always looking for the next betrayal. Any secret between Gary and Sarah feels like a knife in her marriage, even if that secret is actually a crime. We know we're getting flashbacks, and I predict we'll see that the murder wasn't as clean as a single strike. We might see a confrontation where multiple people were present. Maybe Summer left the flat, Sarah arrived, Theo attacked her, and then Gary or someone else intervened. That mallet Gary was holding? Maybe he didn't bring it to kill. Maybe he just picked it up in self-defense. James Cartwright made a really fascinating point in his interview. He said Theo met Corey's own brand of justice.